Welcome back, Fish on Northwest, Duane, England. My little buddy, the world's largest 11-year-old, Jarod Higginbotham, Yakima Bait Company. You guys have been with us all evening. You know who this face belongs to. Fantastic wealth of knowledge coming out of YBC, and a whole bunch of goodies that you have spread out on our table here tonight, my friend. Walk us through the progression. How do we get set up to find success down at Buoy 10? I got a lot of stuff I can choose from here. How do I know what's going to get it done for me?
Well, you know, it's one of those things that a lot of times I'm the weekend warrior like everybody else, so I don't know what's going to get it done right. But I prep for that exact response. And so for me, I'm about spinners. I like spinners. I like herring. I like anchovies. I'm going to run the spin fish this year, and I like them at different times for different reasons.
Last year?
I did a little bit, but I only made it down there for 2 days, and I didn't get to run them a lot.
Okay.
So I didn't have a lot of experience with them, so I didn't get to run them as much as I would have liked to. This year, obviously, I'm going to run a lot more rods with a lot more spin fish because I've had so much success, right? That confidence is built up. I'm ready to go on those. And basically just breaking it down from like I say, a weekend warrior standpoint, because I don't get to go every week like a guide, or I don't get a week off to go down there and spend my time every year. And
so I got a weekend. I'm going to bomb down there. I'm going to fish. Maybe I leave from home Saturday morning. I get that afternoon tide. I get a Saturday afternoon. I get a Sunday morning into late afternoon. That's my opportunity on the water. I want to maximize my opportunity. So when we're running fish flash, lead on some type of sliding device or fixed, if guys think they want to run fixed, which is always a bad idea for net purposes, run the whole deal, right? So not finding success on a consistent basis, and you constantly are battling gear balling up. Our dropper gets wrapped up into our rotator, our herring or our anchovy spins up our leader, gets it balled up into our rotator. Those are things that happen time and time again.
Oh, all the time.
You get grasses and weeds and stuff into your swivels. It just happens. So there are things we can do that's going to minimize that, which is going to afford us more opportunity of running gear successfully in the water. Some of the components from YBC that have come a long way the last few years. Let's kind of break that down and talk about how to rig this up.
So, what I like to do is, from rod, reel, line, it's pretty simple. A line counter reel is kind of a go-to for me, and it doesn't really matter which one it is, right? If you have a line counter reel, it will work.
Right.
Anything from that 9.5 to 10.5 foot rods is what I run a lot of, just to keep my spread out. 10 to 20, 15 to 30, 15 to 40 pound line ratings, it'll work just fine. I run a 65 pound braided main line on mine, and you can see when I come down from my braided main line, I have this thing. This is our free sliding spreader. Very, very simple tool to use. It says on it, lure this way, rod this way. You really can't mess that up.
Well, you could.
You could, but you shouldn't.
Yeah,
but it would happen.
If
it does happen to you, it does say lure and points the arrow. So the reason for the free sliding spreader and why we designed this was a lot of times guys just had a slider right here, right? And so, when you have a dropper with mono and, everybody reels in to move, right? What's the first thing that happens when you bring it up? Everything usually tangles up. Well, with this gives you 3 inches of space. And so you bring it up and see how it hangs apart? It does that with the weight. That lead's going to hold like this, and so it keeps it apart.
If it's completely vertical, you got that separation. If you're on that little slider, which is typically the size of that end of it, right? That is going to drop down right there, and guess what? That's where you run into the problem.
Yeah, and that still can be effective, but again, we're trying to get rid of those problems, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to weed out, even if you improve it by 3%, you've improved your catch ratio by 3%, or your fishing time by 3%. For instance, today, if we'd have been able to fish maybe 3% more than time without the grass, we may have, bumped another fish. Could happen. Just saying though, right? The more time you're fishing.
More time in the water.
That's the idea. And it can be rigged fixed or free sliding. This is Lexan plastic, very difficult to break, and they come in 4 colors, so you can kind of match your hatch. They come in the pink, they come in a chartreuse, they come in a clear, and they come in an orange. So we've got the 4 colors, and they also have stainless steel grommets here, and so you're never going to get the plastic to pull through. Salt water is not going to tarnish them, and so this thing's pretty much, unless you lose it, you can use this thing functioning for a very long period of time. And now you see this kind of funny piece of wire here. Well, a lot of guys for years have been using dropper wires. Now a lot of guys fish suspended, and when you're fishing suspended, I just clip the ball weight right to the bottom of this. But when I'm fishing buoy,
Puget Sound.
like we do Puget Sound, or when I'm pro trolling or whatever. But in this fishery, a lot of times you get some big tides going in or out, whichever way that is. I like to push up against the sands and drag on the sand, right? And with a mono bumper, I found when it's going through there, what does it do? It flexes, and so your gear's doing this a lot. And so I like my gear to kind of be intact and follow those little dips and dives, right? Because that's where those fish sit, is in those, a lot of times when they're trying to buck off, get off that current and not buck
absolutely. They're tucking their nose in.
And this wire has really helped me because as it's going to the bottom, it's almost like a bottom walker, right? It keeps your lead right on the bottom, and you can feel it. And so when it is, my gear is this far off the bottom. And I know that, right?
Right down where they're at.
And we make these in two sizes. We make them in a 10-inch, and this happens to be the 15-inch.
And you like to run the 15 as your dropper.
I like to run the 15 as my dropper. Some guys will take and actually put this wire in between here like this, and then connect it to their fish flash and their spreader, which keeps, again, this rigid, you know what I mean? And so everything stays away. Myself, I really like to do it this way, and I'll actually take and I dress up my sliders. I'll put some tape on them or whatever, UV flash. I like to match them up, you know what I mean? Pink and pink, down to pink or whatever.
Agreed.
But I really like these wires. And then they use the 10-inch for the dropper. Myself, I like the 15-inch for the dropper. Those bigger, thicker fish, if they're sucked right to the bottom, I like to come right by their jaw. So
I've seen some guys that rig that with that 10-inch as their spreader. Their distance between their slider and their
you can go either way.
And then your 15-inch is your dropper. Or we could flip that around. I like to be like you. I like to be that 15-ish off the bottom, right? I just feel like that's a more appropriate strike zone.
Me too.
That has revolutionized, especially for beginners and persons who are running that type of gear for the first few times, or you're in somebody else's boat, and if you're one that gets out there and does your buoy 10 fisher and bring friends and family that don't have a lot of experience, this alleviates a whole bunch of headaches for you in that massive tangle, simply by lifting your rod and teaching them to catch their lead as it comes in. Now we're talking 16 and 20 ounce cannonballs.
Right.
We're swinging a pound of lead around that's going to hit somebody.
Waves, it's like this.
In the wind, these things get spinning in the wind, and that stuff gets jumping around. So all of that coming in, and if they're able just to focus on that 16 ounce cannonball coming in on that wire and just grab it and control their lead, this makes a huge difference in their ability to control that lead.
Well, I have a rule in my boat, and I tell everybody when they first get in, I kind of explain how it works, and I says, hey, reel your line counter up to 7 feet, lift the rod, the weight swings into your hand, right? And so that way it's not dangling around. You don't get the 16-ounce lead at your rod tip, snapping rod tips and things like that. And it's just kind of another effective method, to do that. But I really like this wire for that buoy 10 and the I-205, like Springer Fishery I-5.
Absolutely.
Those types of things.
And that's the rigging wire by YBC.
Rigging wire by YBC. They come in the package, just looks like this.
Right. And you get them in the 10 or 15 inch.
10 or 15 inch.
Now let's talk leader length on our spinners if you're trolling it behind your fish flash before we get out of here. But the leader length for some is something that they either have a hard time remembering, and it doesn't matter. Does it truly matter based on size of spinner, color, presentation, speed, all that stuff?
I really don't think it does. My main concern for my leader length when I'm fishing there is water clarity. The dirtier it is, the closer I'm going to put it to this thing.
Sure,
up to 30 inches at times. And if it's a little cleaner or the fish are maybe a hair finickier and you can just sense that, I extend it out. And you can see I have a lot of swivels in here, right? Because this is all spinning, and I like that. It's easy to change everything out, right? And it just gives this thing more freedom to move, and this more freedom to move. And this happens to be Hunter's favorite spinner. He's fished this thing since he was little. Every time he puts it down, it gets crushed. You can
Every
see
time
rusted.
I see a picture with Buzz Ramsey in a spinner in a fish's mouth, it's that red and white.
Well, it's red and white, and this one happens to be a candy-backed one that we made a few years back. And Hunter loves them, and you can see I've straightened it and went out with it, and I've kept this since he was like 6.
So
a couple different versions
are available. Different versions. And
Mulkey
sizes.
5.5 is my favorite spinner there. Red, white, pink, with the white dot is a good one, or the copper red or brass red white tip. I like all those. You can see that kind of red and white theme, and if not, the chartreuse green dot's always a good one.
A lot of guys are running the pearl trolls or some type of 360-degree rotating flash.
It will not hold it.
Huh?
No, it won't hold it.
No. Exactly.
That's too big. So you're going to flatten out that flasher. Doesn't work. That's why I'm using these with a fish flash at buoy 10. That's why I like to fish those.
It's all in line.
And it's all in line. And there's other methods. Like I said, you can use a fish flash and a herring. And I rig all my stuff up just like this, so I can just snap my new flasher on, and I'm fishing a herring just a few seconds later.
You can run that slider and spreader bar and those droppers for their leads in front of their rotators, right?
Yeah, you can run the slider, and if you want to run the spreader dropper, you can. Most of the time, I'm suspended when I'm running those, and so I don't. The fish flash is just a great tool to have with this. I love these when I'm fishing over at buoy 10. This is really all I fish over there. I don't fish the pro trolls. And they're basically indestructible. I think I showed you guys this earlier, but you can take this thing and you can bend it however you really want, and it won't break.
That does not crack or break. It's not a brittle plastic.
So not a brittle plastic. Put it right back to where it went, and there you go.
It's amazing you guys keep selling them. They never wear out.
They're pretty indestructible.
Buy one, it's good for the rest of your life.
It's and
it literally
unless you
almost
lose
has a
it.
lifetime guarantee.
Yeah, pretty close.
I mean, unless you light it on fire.
Pretty close. And they're UV injected Lexan too, and so we have what we call glow edge, and so you can see the light as you turn them. And that's really that's my method. I fish herring, anchovies, I fish spinners, and now I'm going to start to fish spin fish, and that's it.
Three sizes, but for salmon stuff, they're 2 sizes, right?
Yeah. So salmon, the fish flash the fish flash come in 4 sizes: 4, 6, 8, and 10 inch.
Right. Okay.
Most of the ones I use over there are 8s and 10s, again, depending on water clarity. And I just kind of stick with that. And again, my main thing is we were talking to Tommy earlier about speed. I don't watch my speed over ground. I watch my line angle.
Yeah.
Because current's going to dictate that, and you may have to adjust your weight or whatever to achieve the depth you need to keep line angles, whether it's a heavy inflow or out, and just to make sure you're fishing right. And that's the important part. And checking your gear, working your gear, right? Checking it for weeds, and make sure your bait's running, and just make sure everything's running good. Your spinner wires are straight. All these little bitty things for that weekend warrior. Yeah, and there's tons of good info. Like, you guys put out tons of good content. So all you guys watching out there, this is going to keep flowing until the Buoy 10 fishery comes. You're going to see more little tips and tactics and trends, and pay attention. Look on the YouTube page, check those things out, because that is these little bits of knowledge we learn from each other every day.
Where do I go if I want to find some of this Yakima Bait gear?
So this is pretty much everywhere. Most of these stores have them. Your bigger stores do. Sportco, I know, has a great selection of things down there. I was there the other day. They have a great selection. You can find probably majority of these items there. And one thing that's important, is I try to match the hatch, like I said, and I feel that's important. Terry Mulkey and Buzz and I have had some discussions on this. This is really interesting. Terry Mulkey feels that if he's running one fish flash with pearl on it, he'll run all of them with UV. Right, and it makes sense. And so Buzz and I had this discussion, right? You don't see a herd of elk and a herd of deer and sheep and everything running together and playing, right? Same with bait. Same with bait, right? Yeah. Bait goes together with the same color, and so whatever it is, color they're keyed on for that type of thing, or whatever that flash or whatever is attracting them, it's kind of good to kind of match that. And so I know Bill Monroe Jr.
I was just going to say, Bill Monroe is
this is
a standout in that he runs one flasher.
This one.
All season, every season, that's it.
Non-stop.
There's nothing else.
8 or 10 inch. This is it. This is called the BMK, Bill Monroe Killer, because this is what he does with fish. He flat kills fish with this flasher.
He flat kills fish. All right, check out your local retailer. Get to Sportco Outdoor Emporium. They're going to have all your YBC gear as long as they can get it in stock. That seems to be a problem as of late for most outlets. So, all right, fantastic information. Appreciate you taking the time to break down the YBC stuff.
Always, brother. Always, brother.
My little buddy who is always by my side. Jarod Higginbotham. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Guess what? Tommy's over here smiling because we have more tuna talk.
Yeah, Tommy Tuna.
We come back right here on Fish on Northwest.